a good night's sleep and is ready for the session today. I'm Lisa and I will be going over part 3 with you today. Okay, so first up, we will just do an acknowledgement of country. "30-foot drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to them and their cultures, both to elders past and present." Funding, 30-foot drop funding. 30-foot drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys wouldn't exist or see the light of day. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-foot drop as a part of an Information, Linkages and Capacity Building grant 2018 to 2019. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you wanted to make sure that you've got a pen and paper to write down any of the information that you want to take away. But if you do miss out on anything, you can head over to our website at www.30footdrop.com.au. You can find the resources and you can also find a chat box if you have any questions along the way. Also, unfortunately, we don't have all the resources to monitor all the live stream platforms. So if you want to interact with us, you're going to have to just head to their website, please. So that was the one I just read out before, 30footdrop.com.au/live. We'll be covering a lot of information today in a short period of time, so we recommend, if possible, that you guys take actions to make minimal distractions. As well, if you are going to share any information about 30-foot drop or this webinar or any information on our 30-foot drop page, could you please make sure you tag us just to keep exposure out there for us and keep us in the loop. That'll be awesome. We'll also be recording this session, so if you do miss anything today or you need to rewind it, you can go back and watch it once I'm finished. And that will be posted to the Facebook page, Vimeo library and YouTube, so you can watch it on either of those things. And all the things that I will be referencing today are all available on the website as well under sources, and then go into resources. So everything spoken about, all their paperwork and readings and findings, stats, everything is all in the resource library on our website. And if you know anyone that might benefit from this webinar, please share this information with them. Like and share our Facebook and Instagram page. Go and watch a few YouTube videos. We just feel that the knowledge and messages should be heard, and it's just important so that most of the community can understand the messages we're trying to get across, and it will just change everything for so many people if we can share these messages. At the end of the webinar, we have a short survey that it would be really great if you guys could fill out. It's only about 6 questions. It's under this video, and so all you need to do is press part 3 and fill that out for us. That'd be awesome. Okay, so we are the Wise Monkeys. I'm Lisa. I am Hear No Evil. I'm one of the monkeys. Now I will just read you a little bit about myself. My little story. I'm Hear No Evil, so just by looking at me, you probably can't tell what I may suffer from. Through me, you will realise that you will hear no evil about impairment. My story is definitely a more hidden one. At the age of 8, I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. Teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks, and yell at me in front of my classmates. Why don't you understand what's wrong with you? Making me feel completely dumb and unworthy. And as a girl back 30 years ago, it just wasn't as common for girls. So it was really hard for me and the teachers to understand that there was actually something going on with me. So once I was tested and diagnosed, it did help, but back in those days there wasn't as much support and knowledge as there is now. So if you feel like you know anyone or have a child around you that could possibly have dyslexia, there's lots of different people out there that can test for that, like psychologists and Kit McGrath. They all are out there to help people with learning disabilities. But despite the challenges growing up, I was determined to prove all of these teachers wrong and everyone that doubted me. So I ended up passing school. I did really well at school. I found my passion in art when I was about 13. I was drawing and looked around and noticed that I'd actually drawn what I'd seen and no one else had really got it. The teacher held it up and said, this is how you do it, this is perfect, and it just made me feel so amazing, a feeling I'd never felt before, because I was actually better maybe at something than another person. So you will find that passion. It could take time. It took me a while to find that, but I'm so glad I did, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because I love being creative and painting and taking photos. So I also have multiple diplomas in the arts field, worked in art galleries around the world, holding exhibitions, organising exhibitions, marketing, all that kind of thing. I have a diploma in counselling because I really feel I just love to help people, love to give advice, and people that know me this. And at present I have my own photography business, which is Lisa Hall Creative, if you want to check it out. Okay, enough about me. Ben is the other monkey. He is See No Evil. He's not here today, but he will be here tonight. So if you want to head over and watch him tonight, he'll be doing another part 3. He's on at 6 o'clock, and he can share with you his story, which is another interesting story like mine. Okay, so isn't there supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? Who do you think is the third monkey? You guessed it, it's you. The aim of today's workshop is to turn you into a wise monkey. You will begin on a journey of realising that, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be acknowledged and treated the same as anyone else. Such an important message. Outline and method. We'll just go over a few things here. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential impact on your business. We're going to examine the size of the market segment and what people with impairment represent, explaining who they are and their potential customer base. Then we'll examine the potential impacts they can have on your business, both positives and negatives. After covering all this good stuff, we'll then have an open forum before wrapping up for the day. So the open forum will be any questions that you have about what I'm discussing today. You can jump in the chat box, which is again www.30footdrop.com.au/live. There's a link under this video, so you can hit that, hit the live box, and it will take you to the chat box. You can ask any questions along the way. So what will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, experience, and open, honest discussion. And like I said, feel free to ask any questions, none are off limits. You will also notice that there's very little written content on the slides. This is because we're all here to interact with each other. And as well, there could be someone here that finds it hard, has severe learning difficulties, stuff like that can't read. This makes it easier for them to understand because all they have to do is listen and look at the pictures. Okay. Let's go to terminology and review. To reduce confusion and ensure understanding, I want to review some terminology that I will be using in this session. Okay, first up is the difference between disability and impairment. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause loss or difference of physiological function. In short, your impairment is your medical diagnosis. So for me, for example, my impairment is that I have mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access or participate in something. So my example of this would be, or someone with dyslexia or severe learning difficulties, too much wording, too much complex information, or sometimes stylized script can make it hard for people to understand, which then makes it hard for them to get the right information that they need to use your service. This is especially important information to remember because some impairments, like mine for example, are hidden. So potentially you could have lost a lot of business by maybe not knowing this. And when it's hidden, we may not say that we can't read or we can't do this and that. It's just another thing that you need to consider on your websites and in your advertising. So hopefully this all makes sense to everyone. Next up is the difference between access and inclusion. Unfortunately, access and inclusion are quite often referred to as one word, but that's not the case. And I'll explain why now. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, the reduction of physical barriers to participate in the activity and functions of the community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and is easily assessed with a checklist. Inclusion is more of a physiological state of being and is the process hereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference or nationality, who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as everyone else in the community. Inclusion is making sure that everyone can take part in an activity, service or product. Hopefully that all makes sense. If it doesn't, send me a message over chat. I'll just check, make sure no one's asked any questions. Cool, no questions. Okay, let's get on to the next step. People with impairment, the untapped market. Okay, let's get into the good stuff and look at the market share. Here's a business idea. Ignore a potential market. That's what many sports and athletic related businesses did until they realised in the 1990s that they had been passing on a gold mine. Women. Yes, the other half of the population that should be just playing with Barbie dolls and prams. Well, in the 1990s were a turning point as the NBC's 96 Summer Olympic Games coverage targeted women and sports much more than previously, and many more female-orientated sports, advertisement, apparels, and equipment lines emerged. So imagine that. Women actually would be interested in the same thing as other humans, such as sports. Well, many businesses, once again, could be ignoring and missing out on other potential markets. Something to think about there. Consider, for example, a population that has clear persistent needs that are not being adequately fulfilled. This population spans the world and is growing and includes very motivated customers. Since this population is currently being underserved and misunderstood by many businesses, many of those lost customers would be very grateful and loyal to your business if you meet their needs. This population has an estimated disposable income Australia-wide of 54 million and growing. Such a huge number that we all could be missing out on. Consider how margins are tight and that finding a new and neglected population can boost your business. So what is this population? Let's have a look. How big a market share do you think this represents? Numbers. Okay, here is the Australian population, all 100%. Now Ben assures me he's counted 100 figures here. Let's hope he's right. There are approximately 5% of the Australian population living with a severe or profound impairment. These people require assistance or have difficulty with mobility, communication, and self-care. Add to this 5% from above another 4% of the population who are unpaid primary carers of people with an impairment. You now have a minimum of 9% of the population missing out on products and services. That's a fair share, and it doesn't even include the families and friends who also accompany this 9%. So there's so many people. It's not just the person with the impairment or the disability missing out, it's the carers, it's the other families that go with these people. They may want to go to a certain place, but they can't go because it doesn't have the facilities for the person that's disabled or has an impairment. Something to think about there. So you may ask yourself, if it's such a big market share, then surely aren't they already being served? Aren't there items and services events such as the Paralympic Games every 4 years for those that have disabilities? Well, yes, they do have those. But that's a bit like saying to women who wanted to play sports in the 1970s, yes, but don't you have hopscotch? While some businesses do seem to understand the market of people with disabilities, some do not. Deloitte and the Australian Human Rights Commission released a report in February 2017 titled The Missing Out Report. The business case for customer diversity, and in it they present their research findings about the missed opportunities that occur when businesses do not extend their values, fairness, equality and respect to those diverse customer bases. This research covered the diversity areas of gender equality, marriage equality, people with impairment, age, cultural diversity, and practicing noticeable faith. It is well worth reading and can be found in our digital library. And the information in there, if you read it, will probably shock you. It's just crazy, all the people missing out. Right, let's head over to the stats. These folk look at the results that focus on impairment, if businesses are meeting the needs, and looking at whether businesses are meeting the needs of the market. Okay, here's one of the findings that they had. As a customer, more people with impairment are finding that places often do not provide the products and services that they need. So that's 35% of people with impairment are not getting the services and products that they need. And another 27% is the people without impairment, but they're still saying they don't get the products and services they need. So those are quite high figures, really. Graph 2. As a customer, over a quarter of people with impairment usually have a fear of rejection or embarrassment when interacting with businesses. Now that's pretty sad, and that's a lot of scared customers that may have been treated unfairly before, that will just walk straight past your business because they weren't treated with respect, or they feel uncomfortable because they've got a disability or an impairment. Graph 3. As a customer, over the last 12 months, I was often treated less favourably than other customers based on certain characteristics that I have. That's 1 in 3 people with an impairment treated this way by a company because of a disability or impairment. That's also, again, really sad, and a really high percentage, 38. That's getting close to 50%. It's terrible. So, graph 4. This one shocked us the most, and that's getting discriminated against by one or more organisation. Crazy. 30% of people feel like they were being discriminated against by a company or business. Crazy figures once again. So, you're not going to spend money at these businesses if you're made to feel like you're being discriminated against. You're just going to walk past. These stats show that there is definitely a market that is not having their needs met. Next, let's have a look at who this market is and who are the people behind the stats. People with impairment are just people, like all of us. We're all the same. We have passions, loves, and families. We purchase consumer goods like food, clothing, and cars. We go to the movies, go out for dinner, we go on holidays, we have hobbies. But for some reason, we are treated differently. In short, people with impairment are active contributors to the community and the economy, and as a result, we represent a market share to businesses and organisations. Because we are a market share, we also are able to impact your organisation, and how we do that is up to you. So, potential impacts. Let's have a look at some of the impacts people with an impairment have on your business. So these two things are only a minority and ethical consumerism. Let's look at only a minority. When it comes to minorities, people can often say it's only a minority. Isn't there enough of them? There isn't enough of them to make a difference. As discussed earlier, we can safely say it's about 9% of the population, and that's not including the other family members and friends that go with these people. What research has found is that people with impairment are a very decisive and influential minority. Let's have a look closer at the results. Let's go back to the missing out report and some stats. Over the past 12 months, I have ceased a transaction because I have felt I was treated unfairly, as we all know, purchasing power is in the hands of the customers, and when people don't get what they want in terms of product or service, they cease the transaction. They don't go ahead with the payment. So that's 29% of people that cease the transaction because they're not getting the services they need, or your business isn't meeting their needs because they have a disability or impairment. And the other 18% are people that don't have an impairment, and so they are also affected in a little way. The missing out report reported in the missing out report, they examine this closely and add other factors of respect and fairness. The results in this report show that 1 in 5 customers without an impairment will cease a transaction. This jumps to almost 1 in 3 for people with an impairment when they are not treated with fairness and respect, showing that a negative experience is more likely to happen and drive customers away which have an impairment. Also, dissuading others. More than just walking away from a sale, people with impairment are twice as likely to dissuade others from using your service or product. That's twice as likely. And you know what? I even do it. If I've had a bad experience, I'll talk about it to people because, it just shouldn't happen. You've got to be treated with respect and fairness if you want to spend money. So basically, if your company is not treating people with respect and fairness, your business is already being affected. Okay. In the missing out report, they have been asked in the past if supporting diversity in businesses can have an adverse effect on business. Can it drive the current customers away? The missing out report found that 12% of people were negatively affected by the diversity reputation. 58% of people were positively affected, and 30% weren't too worried. Yes, you may lose that 12%, but you'll gain so much more by being inclusive and treating people with respect and fairness. This result is not impairment specified, but includes other minorities that can be quite diverse. marriage equality, people with impairment, and older people, for example. Okay, key findings. To finish this section off, I want to read you a really relevant key finding. Customers with an impairment are 3 times more likely to avoid an organisation and twice as likely to dissuade others because of an organisation's negative diversity reputation. There is a good chance that if your business isn't accessible or inclusive, then once again you're already being impacted. We've covered the possible negative effects, but let's have a look at the positive effects. Ethical consumerism. Ethical consumerism isn't just a positive for financial impacts, it is also a positive movement for a better future for everyone. Okay, what is ethical consumerism? Ethical consumerism is a form of activism based on the ideas that purchasers in markets consume not only goods, but also implicitly embrace the process used to produce them, by choosing certain products over others or whether to purchase them at all. Consumers can embrace or reject particular environmental and labour practices and make other valuable claims based on the ethical values that they hold. Exercising choice in this way creates incentives for producers to make production practices which conform to the customer's values. Successful campaigns waged by ethical consumerism movements have popularised dolphin-free tuna, foods that are free from GMOs, sweatshop-free clothing, fair trade coffee, cosmetic products free from animal testing, and conflict-free diamonds. So this movement is getting more and more well known about. You may choose certain products over others because of how they were made, how the people were treated, making them, how they're getting paid. It's so important because we all deserve to be treated fairly with respect. Okay. Applying to impairment. So how can ethical consumerism be connected to people with an impairment? Who here's heard of the quiet hour piloted at Coles and Woolworths? For those that haven't, I'll just explain to you. Some impairments make some people hyper aware of their surroundings, making activities such as going to the supermarket very challenging. At Coles and Woolworths, every Tuesday between 10:30 and 11:30 a.m, the store lighting is dimmed by 50%, radio is switched off, register and scanner volumes are reduced to the lowest level, trolley collection is stopped, roll cages are removed from the shop floor, PA announcements are also stopped, except in the case of an emergency, of course. Free fruit is offered to customers at customer service, and additional team members are there to help. So this is an amazing initiative and makes a great difference to many people. It has also increased the ethical consumerism of both Coles and Woolworths. If you search the internet, you will see it's been published all over Australia. So how do you think this has affected consumers? There'd be so many people out there that, hanging out for that day to go in when it's quiet, it's not crazy. I use it with my son. He has ADHD, and going into the supermarket when it's crazy makes him more crazy. So going in there when it's more calm, he's more calm, it's more relaxing for both of us. So you can only imagine what it's like for someone that has severe impairments or disabilities. They're just getting treated well, they've got help. It's just a nice experience for them, and we all deserve to have that experience. Okay, so that is it for today. I hope you all enjoyed part 3. It's a lot of information to take in, so I hope you all understood what we were talking about there. If you don't, or you missed anything, you can head over and watch this again. Once the video has stopped and I've ended it, you can then go back and watch it from the beginning and move it to where you want to go, or watch the whole thing again. Right, okay, so now we will do an open forum. So if anyone has any questions, head over to the link below this video, 30footdrop.com.au/live, and you can type in any messages or questions that you have for me, and I will do my very best to answer them. If I can't, I will pass them on to the big boss, who is the brains behind this, Ben. Okay, so we will be back at 25 to 12. See you soon. Okay, welcome back. Now, I did receive a question today. Is there a place online where I can see recommended accessible businesses? So in Australia, as far as I know, there is nothing yet, but Ben, the brains behind this, is looking at bringing in a website where businesses that are inclusive and are accessible for people with disabilities and impairments will go to that website, have an assessment done by the 30-foot drop team. Their business will be assessed for inclusive and access things. And once they pass, they'll get a star rating, like 1 star, just like this normal star rating, 1 star being okay, 5 star being extremely accessible and inclusive. So that's a project that 30-foot drop is looking at doing. So if you were wanting to get your business involved in that website and get your business assessed, or talk about it with Ben, please contact us, email us on the website, chat with us, or you can actually phone him if you like. So hopefully that answers your question. And hopefully also very soon we will have that website up and running so that people with disabilities can head straight to that website, find out about a certain hotel or restaurant. Yes, it's got this and this for someone in a wheelchair. It's got this and this for someone with possible learning disabilities, and you'll see whether they are what they're rated at. So that's going to be so exciting, and we're all looking forward to doing that project. I hope that made sense to the person that asked the question. Thanks for joining me this morning, and Ben or myself will be back tonight. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.